All right, we are back. If you're back, if you've been here before, then you know who I am. If you're new, then I'm Carlos, and this is another edition of Weekly Tai Chi from the dojo, Tucson, Arizona. No cats today. It's actually too hot for the cats. Well, I shouldn't say that. One of the cats just went outside. It's well over 100, and he's happy as can be in the shade somewhere. But anyway, so we'll get right into it. So this is wrapping the pole as we usually do to loosen up. And let's see, today we were going to get back to some horse movements, and there's not a lot of them. We did 3 or 4 weeks of dragon movements. We did 3 or 4 weeks of lunar movements. There's tons of things in the cat family, tigers, leopards, but not many horses. And it might be because in Taoism, the horse represents the will, and we want to get rid of our will if possible. So that's enough loosening in that way. Let's roll the shoulders forward. So I don't really know why there's not more horses, but there's a few. We'll cover what we can, and I also, again, I found so much variety as I looked at my notes and old videos and things like that. And so we're not sticking to anything too particular. We may get into minutia, but it's not minutia that is right or wrong minutia. It's just differences. And a lot of what we'll be doing when we study things in the form, we're going to get some good balance and what they call zhuang, which is holding postures. While I tell you about these postures, you're going to be holding them for a lot longer than you normally would. And there's a lot of holding postures in Tai Chi. We think of Tai Chi as just movement, but it's a good way to remember the postures by holding it, and it's a good way to learn your stability and your good structure, right? So let's go, let's rotate the shoulders backward. And we'll take a couple of water breaks since it's so hot. So I used to not turn on the AC in the dojo by choice because I didn't feel it was right to air condition the entire building just for 45 minutes when it takes, but now I have no choice because the swamp cooler vents are wide open and the air conditioning will just go out the roof. So that's no good. That's no good. So let's do what, let's see. It was Huang Jingjiang, Master Huang Jingjiang did this loosening exercise. So this involves loosening the shoulders, just as loose as you want. This is with the shoulders rotating backwards, right? I'm just getting super loose. I mean, I don't want to get too loose. Oh, you guys, speaking of loose, my back is still killing me. I think it was killing me last week, but it's much better, but I can't get as loose as I want. I can't be quite as smooth today as I want to be. Okay, so this usually is only done with the shoulders rotating backwards, but what can we do with the shoulders rotating forward? Well, I'm glad you asked. We can do, let's first do our neck, okay? So let's first just make gentle, careful neck movements, looking up and looking down. See what I thought up for you this week. You guys, so as I mentioned last week, in an effort to not do the same thing every week, I'm really having to do a lot of research and to try to bring you some new stuff every week. I love doing it, you guys. It's really fun for me. And it's fun to come here to the dojo and make these videos, so I hope that you enjoy them as much as I do. Let's look side to side. This has nothing to do with a horse right now. Okay. So what we're going to do next is from the Baduan Jin, or the 3 hearts, 9 gates system, also known as the 8 brocades of silk, 8 pieces of silk. And this set is like 1,000 years old, so it's had 1,000 years to become modified, misunderstood, changed. We don't care about that. In fact, we're interested in it. We're interested in that. So, if you know this set, what you know as, first of all, the most obvious horse thing in Tai Chi is the horse stance. And this is just a wide stance that is double weighted, so that violates one of our rules of Tai Chi right away. But it's the horse stance. You're sinking down, tip the pelvis under, okay, and bring your chi back to the Ming Men, pull in the Dantian slightly. So one of the ones, it's later on in the 8 brocades. Sometimes it's just called like punch. But for our purposes, it's king rides his horse with fiery eyes. Okay, so we're in our horse stance, and so it's just like this karate punch, right? Okay, but if you make a fist, it has to be a loose fist, right? And the fiery eyes, I'm making fiery eyes at the camera. Okay, so this is the basic thing. You do this a couple hundred times. Okay, everyone has a different opinion as far as how the level that you're punching. You could sort of punch at your own chin. Okay, and then I have definitely seen this sort of punching more obliquely. Okay, and we're going to find things in common with this and with high pat the horse, but I'm not going to say that high pat the horse came from this, because that's just too far of a reach to make. But I like the similarities. You'll see the similarities. Okay, and then no less of an authority as Dr. Yang Ming, and we know for some reason in China, doctor is higher than master. So we know that Yang Ming is a Tai Chi master, but he's also a PhD, so we call him Dr. Yang Ming. And he does something completely different. Okay, so he's going to go out to the side, okay, and then out like that, turning but not pivoting, right? Okay, it's all good. I mean, this is completely different, but he's a real expert and a real authority. He studied all the history of these things, so I would never dismiss. And you know, the reason I was looking at my Yang Ming books was that I was looking for his application of high pat the horse, because it looks like there could be some chin na in high pat the horse, and he is a master of chin na. But I could not find a reference. Doesn't mean I won't find it next week. But okay, so whichever one you prefer, we'll go back to the original. But you feel the twisting. It seems like the horse is also known for speed. But what I found in researching high pat the horse is that there is coiling and twisting. So actually the yang, we may as well get right into it. I'm going to have a sip of water, you guys. Actually, why don't we just take a full water break, and maybe I'll show you what that movement looks like in the old sketches, and maybe I'll show you the founder of the 8 Brocades, who also was the founder of Jing Chuan and Eagle Claw method. So that was an amazing guy, and that was again 1,000 years ago. Take a little water break. We'll be right back. All right, so high pat the horse in the yang form is more linear than I like. The same way when we were punching like this, even though we're turning the fist over, it's a little more linear than what I like. And in the yang solo form, our form that we do, 88, is also yang, but in the yang solo form, usually starts after single whip, or the most famous one is after single whip. And then, so this wide stance, they have to narrow this, so they take a little step and then they just go like that. So that's all it is. And the application is some sort of a strike, some sort of a holding with a strike, usually. But if they really get into it, they shift forward. And that's not right, because this is almost always done with our weight on the back foot. So if you want to see this again, and this is just for fun, right? So we come from our single whip, step over a little bit, and then. So I've also found in my research that the wrists seem to be magnetized, so the wrists are pulling together and then extending apart, right? This is another these horse movements all have this sort of splitting, these oppositional forces, right? So this is an oppositional force. This hand's pulling back as this coming forward, right? If you didn't pull this hand back, you'd cut off a lot of energy, right? So that's another aspect of the horse is this lié or splitting. So where were we? So okay, so we can try this on the other side, because when we just do one little tiny thing, we can do it on both sides. We're not trying to learn our entire form on both sides, but when we do one tiny thing. So this is a sort of a wide stance. Oh, let me grab my my gloves here, by the way. Pause for a second. All right. Okay, so doing these movements from one side to the other is confusing enough, and then to not really know which hand is which and which foot is which. I always use the orange hand right. So what were we doing? So we were in single whip, beak hand with the left hand, just a sort of a blade hand here. And so if I was to come like this, it would be a little too wide here. So usually they sort of shift, step, and then imagine your wrists are drawn together. So this is closing, and then this is opening. Okay, and and a lot of times we link our breathing to our movement. If you want to do that, exhale on close, inhale on open. So a little step in, exhale close, wrists come together, inhale open. So this is, and then just in case. Let's go back to the first side. We always want to end with our dominant side. Sorry, lefties. A little step, and then close and open. Okay? One more time. Step in, close, and open. So, what else can I show you? In the Wu style, oh my goodness, it's now, so the Wu style is more curvy, but it does have a linear aspect like this too. So at first it violates this rule here, and it doesn't start in single whip, right? And try to kind of sometimes forget about the movement when we look at a particular movement, we try to forget about what came before it and what comes after it. That's not really fair. I think of the Tai Chi form as an encyclopedia of movements. And in an encyclopedia, like aardvark, and then you turn the page, Aaron from the Old Testament, you turn the page, abacus. Those three things have nothing to do with each other, but they follow each other, right? So also in Tai Chi, just because two things follow each other doesn't mean they have anything to do with each other. So single whip has nothing to do with this. But there could be a skilled martial artist who can envision 1,000 scenarios where this has something to do with each other, but it doesn't necessarily, it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with each other. So in the Wu style, let's see, there's this really neat, let's see, well, it doesn't really matter what comes before it, but we do this thing, so instead of here and here, so again, this is classic high pat the horse. There's a horse, supposedly there's a horse that put its head over the fence, and you're feeding it a little bit of grain and patting its head, right? And that's the traditional viewpoint. But as we know, these things get lost in the mists of time, and we'll discuss this more. But anyway, back to I like to keep moving while we talk. Okay, so in the Wu fast form, the hands are reversed, right? So first it's here, and then it comes to here. But what about the spirals? Because the Wu fast form is called let's do that again. We're supposed to be here, but no. So we go here, and then big spiral. Now, I don't know if this spiral is part of high pat the horse or whether it's actually part of separation kick. Because, as I told you last week, people tend to scavenge a little piece of a move from the next move or from the move before it, and I don't really know. But like I say, this is awfully linear. So this is awfully linear to me. I don't see any spiraling here. In the slow form, what I'm getting at is in the slow form, high pat the horse is like that. And in Chen style, it's all twisted up, right? It's all twisting and turning. And in our form, it's twisting and turning. So let's do that on the Wu side, on the other side, if we can. So it was here, so we're going to go here. And the hands are here, so we're going to go here. All right, so I'll take a pause here, a breather here. On the Wu fast form, it's like that, and then like that, and then like that. Okay, but that's the kick. But the wind up, I can't believe that this giant spiral is necessary to achieve this kick, right? That's what they call a towel, right? Little sip of water. If somebody was going to kick you and they did that giant wind up, but that giant wind up could be some infighting, sort of some push hands type of movement. And also, this is definitely a candidate for Chin Na, some type of joint locking, but I don't know it. I saw it in the park, and then I forgot how to do it. I'm not an expert at Chin Na, but Chin Na is really interesting, and that's why it's so effective. Is it's hard to keep track of what's going on, right? You usually know Chin Na when it's too late. So what were we talking about? Oh, so again, what we're trying to find in these movements is the essence of the movement. So that's why I try to divorce the movement from what came before it and what comes after it. So the essence, I believe, is a turning, and it's usually with the weight back. I think that's the correct way, with the weight back and with some sort of a turning. So here we come to our form, and then just to do the linguistics, Gao Tan Ma. Gao is high or tall. and Ma is horse. So Tan is the one that is the controversial one. Tan is not pat. It's if anything to explore maybe, but explore leads to the term scout. And so then we have the idea that it's not patting a horse, it's a scout on a horse, and he's holding himself high and maybe patting his horse while he's on the horse. So that's completely different than walking up to a horse and patting it, but to be on the horse, riding tall like a scout because you're looking, right? And some people even say it's an archer, some sort of a archery movement. This is like symbolizing archery, or here. Anyway, so a little bit into thousands of years old linguistics, and some people actually look at the shape of the characters too, but I'm just not, I can't even do that. So anyway, so let's get to our form finally. Our form 34A is, I do need to tell you what it follows. It follows, we are getting back fisted, so we have this fist coming at us. And what we do, and again, this is more similar to Chen style. I'm not going to show you the Chen style. Chen style takes a long time to learn. And in Chen style, they're doing, with high pat the horse, they're doing what I've told you with some other movements. They're combining, looks like 3 or 4 different moves into one thing that they call high pat the horse, right? And they do it several times in their form, right? So, so we're not getting nearly that complex, and they twist and turn so much that it even comes out in their feet. And so ours does too. So we have this back fist coming at us, and we neutralize, and I'm already pivoting my right foot. And then neutralizing is not enough. I need to attack. And so, and as is common in our form, we flank. So my partner's here now, so I'm going to come around to here, and that's our high pat. So let's do it again. And we did this a couple weeks ago, right? So we won't spend too much time on it. So neutralize and just step around. And this will be our balance. So we'll hold this here. And so according to the solo form, this hand should be up. What's the difference? You could do that. You could neutralize and keep that hand up because we don't want to be grasping. So you could do that. Okay, we're still holding our balance. So let's try it one more time. Let's try keeping the hand up just for fun, just to be consistent, right? Consistent with this. So I'm going to neutralize here, and I'll keep this hand up and just come around to here. Now, is everybody happy? Okay, another Grandmaster, Chung Ta Chen, great authority on this form. He doesn't even call this high pat, he calls this axe kick. So if you see in the yang form where they are really thinking about what's going on with their hands and not even thinking about the fact that they're in an empty stance and they could be kicking, I think you really have to include the knee or the kick in here. And for my money, I'd say it's a better knee, right? And in this way, it's very similar to Golden Rooster stands on one leg, but we won't get all into that, right? So let's see. Can we do it on the left side? Sure we can. Okay, so left foot forward, left hand comes up. So we're neutralizing. Let's pivot left. And we're going to step around, come into our high pat. Wow, that's not bad. So the less familiar you are with this movement, the easier it is to you to switch to the left side. The more familiar you are with it, the harder this is, right? So this is really hard for me because my brain is not wired this way. Left foot forward, left hand up, so you neutralize. So I'm keeping my palm up just for fun, right? Okay. And again, it's a great balance. Okay. All right, are we ready to move on? Yeah, okay. Let's move on. Let's take another little break. Was there anything else I wanted to tell you about that? So I think from now on, I'm going to call it Scout Sitting High on Horse. That's the best Chinese translation I think we can come up with so far. So another little water break, and we'll be right back. We'll do our form next.
穿这一圈是白晒图形，哎，不停高探马。
Let's get right into our form for today. I was telling you we do a different angle each week. I have to review which angles we've already done. So while I do that, I'm just gonna come straight at you. Okay, so relax completely. And as I mentioned every week, this is a good time. Should have mentioned it before the break. Pause now. Do the first 8 movements of the form as best you can. That will create questions that you can answer as you watch me. So hit pause, or option number 2, don't watch the video and do the form just listening, and I will I'll call out the major movements. Okay, so do one of the 2 options, and then if you're brand new, then just watch the video. Okay, so here we go. So sink into the right foot. Left foot slides forward. Left hand comes up, leading with the back of the wrist. Right foot slides through slightly ahead of the right punch, this is all white snake, darts out its tongue. Left arm continues around in this graceful arc. Okay. And then reach up to touch the 7 stars of the Big Dipper. That's the crossed hands coming up. It pulls the left foot up even with the right. The hands drop back down, right hand to the wrist. Left hand stays in front of you. The right foot steps up. And then this punch is called carry hammer, right on my center line. About right. And then I sink back. This is an implied white crane. And then I switch my hands, and we're into white ape swings through branches. Okay, which is a shoulder strike. Shift into your right foot, pivot the left toes around, and then we step up and over. Take plenty of time here. When we run out of balances, we're going to do that as a balance. Okay, shifting right, shifting back left, elbow strikes the heart. Shift into your right foot and ring the gong. Shift back to your left foot and strike a tiger. And then step more up obliquely towards the corner for hand strums the lute. And you may notice that high pat, it's sort of similar to play guitar. It's true. Pivot the right foot around, but we'll deal with that maybe next week. Okay, step the left foot in and back, and then this is inspect horse's mouth. Another horse, what? Okay, and then, wow, we'll have to look at this for just a second. Okay, I didn't even think of that. Okay, step back to here. Sorry, I didn't talk you through that. And if we wanted to flip over to the other side, I'm going to make sure you can see my feet. We could go right into, well, let's not. Let's stop for a second, and then we'll do the B side from here. Okay, here we go. Relax completely, shift into the left foot. So again, I'll take a sip of water, and you guys, maybe you pause your video and go do the form by yourself. See how far you can get through the B side. And a lot of you aren't really studying the B side, so maybe skip that part. But if you remember it, then you could try the second option, which is just listen to my voice. All right, here we go. Shift into your left foot. The right foot slides back on the toes. As the foot comes back into contact with the mat, you turning to the right. So turning to the left, that slides the left foot in and back, and it actually flings the arms up into dragon posture. Turning right is our single whip. This is our first version of single whip. Turning back left, pushes the right hand forward. Keep twisting left, step around and strike a tiger. Keep twisting left. That will pull the left foot in and back. It'll pull the right hand back and down. And I'm going to move towards the camera here, shifting forward. Push upward, step up, and then a shoulder strike. I'm going to shift back into my left foot, hold this sort of hoop shape. This keeps my partner off of me, keeping a little space. I step the left foot in and back, draw the bucket from the well. All right, shift back, pivot around, step the left foot in and back. My left palm is up, my right palm is down. I just do a downward push here. Bye guys, sorry to face away from you, that's just how it goes. And then, let's see, where are we going? Oh yeah, step through and punch. Okay, and I think that went right. And then we can continue on back to the A side. All right. When I look back at this video, I'll see I think I may have took a misstep. Anyway, that's enough. So, so then just to review, inspect horse's mouth. That's a fairly simple move. It's a defense and a strike, strike with the fingers at about eye level. So it starts from when, let's see, let's just go through it. All right, so strike a tiger, strum the lute, and then come to here. And we come around, and then, so I think we've gone through this before. You can go back in the video. So we're doing strum the lute. Our partner pushes down on our arm. So we have two options here. We can pivot as we pivot. We can wipe one of their hands off the arm, and the other one doesn't matter because we're changing our vector. So, and then I keep this here defensively, and then boom. Or, speaking of chin na, they push down on our arm with their hand. We come and we trap their fingers, and then sink and roll down. And if they commit to hanging onto our arm, it's going to be bad for their hands or their fingers. If they release, it doesn't matter. We just go right into that, right? Because their hands are down, we have the upper position anyway. So that's that movement. It's a lot easier to teach it with somebody else, but we're mainly working on high pat the horse. And but there might be a way that I can show you that movement, even though I don't have anyone here to practice it with me right now. There might be a way you can see that. We'll see. Okay, let's do, for those of you who are not working on the form per se, but would like to do some stepping, which I recommend highly, because the Qigong that we do doesn't really work your legs that much. We will do parting the wild horse's mane. And this is our version in our form is pretty much good generic parting the wild horse's mane. I'm going to go obliquely here just so you can get a feeling for what this is. And this is very similar to slant flying. It's also fairly similar to ward off or diagonal flying, or maybe one other pose that or movement that we do, but they're all essentially the same. And for our purposes today, it's just it's hard to explain the difference, but I'm not going to make a big deal out of it. So again, this is the essence of splitting. I'm going to step in, step out, and then this hand comes up, and that hand goes back. So this hand going back is just as important as this handing. Do not think of this strike without this, okay? It's a whole body movement. there is, there are people that say that this is actually being done with the back, which is amazing. It's amazing interpretation, right? That the arm actually has very little to do with it, and it's a back strike. Amazing. So then, to do it on the other side, just step in, sort of blade the hands vertically, step out, and then on this side, okay, haven't practiced this in a while, so I might be a little rusty. Step in, step out. So we're not going to walk in a circle today. I'm going to start over here, and we'll just do it. We'll just go back and forth. So you can just play around with this in your living room, right? So you can start any place you want. So here, and then step in, step out, and here. It's not a real big deal, although you could certainly make a big deal out of it. All right, so just sort of blade the hands here at vertical. This is vertical, and then step out, and then everything sort of slants. So this is why it's confused with its cousin, slant or diagonal flying. Honestly, I'm just not going to get into the differences. All right, so, but this move has a lot of power in it, right? So if I could lean into someone, they could feel this opening, and this movement down is fueling this movement up. I hope you can feel the connection. I really hope you can feel the connection. That's the whole point of splitting or lié or of this move, right? Of course, you can exaggerate it, or you can make it understated, right? However you want to do it, right? So I would almost say you can play around with this in your living room all you want. It's not quite subtle enough to do at the grocery store when you're standing in line at the checkout. But anyway, so that's parting the wild horse's mane, and that is basically, I think, all I had for you. So let's do our ending qigong. Maybe a little shorter class this week. And remember, try to do the same ending qigong every week, lifting water. So it will provide something to measure how you feel. Gives you can think about what we did today. So please, please, please consider pressing pause and just doing a bunch of these, you guys. Or just, I'll end the video and you guys do some form of meditation or qigong, or do some more of anything that you saw in the video that you like, even one or two. And if all these things that we did today are new to you, consider going back and looking and maybe just practicing one thing that we did. So I'm going to be completely quiet for one full movement. for today comes from Lao Tzu, similar period as Confucius in the grand sweep of things. And, oh, this is great. Only when I let go of what I am, I become what I might be. And thank you guys. Thank you so much for joining me. Thanks for practicing with me. I can feel your presence, and it's so great to know that you're enjoying these videos. And again, I hope you enjoy them half as much as I do in making them. And we will see you next week. All right.